Friends, on behalf of Micah's family, I'd certainly like to welcome each and every one of you and thank you for being here, for supporting them in their time of loss. Certainly the family is comforted by Jehovah's building full of people that are here today that love them and love Micah. Well, to begin with and close, we'll use a song and a prayer. The words for the songs will be displayed on the TV screens, or if you'd like, the attendants can provide you with a hard copy, with a paper copy. So to begin with, let's have everybody stand, and we're going to sing one of Micah's favorite songs, Song 77, Light in a Darkened World, and then we'll approach Jehovah in prayer. So now let's give our attention to Brother Fowler for Micah's memorial talk. And let's listen closely as he shares scriptures that provide the sorely needed encouragement, comfort.
The Bible talks about a house of mourning or tears. We are in that house today. Each of us, whether we were a friend of Micah's, a cousin, an aunt, an uncle, or a sibling, will feel the pain differently. And if we cry, that's okay. It's even healthy. Tears have been called emotional first aid. And we feel grief with the death of any loved one. But for a child, like Micah, to die, that is a tragedy. And so for his life to be cut short at the age of 16, we may ask, what would Micah have grown up to be? Would he have served in the full-time ministry? Would he have gotten married? What would he accomplish? And so sometimes people wonder why. Why would God allow this? Well, As we remember Micah, we'll receive a measure of comfort. We'll see how Micah would want us to cope with our grief, and we'll learn about the hope that he had and why that hope is so powerful to help us right now. So who was Micah as a person? Well, Micah's best friend was Jehovah God, whom he began to learn about at a young age from his parents. And it's Jehovah that can really carry us through. The only way that Micah got through life, particularly his illness, was with Jehovah's help. The only way that we can get through these trying times right now is with Jehovah's help. Micah trusted in Jehovah. And we learn to rely upon Jehovah because he's a God of comfort and of peace. Now, Micah passed away on May 1st, 2019, at 16 years of age, knowing that Jehovah gave him comfort, peace, and hope. His parents, Melinda and Mike Spillers, learned the truth and instilled in Micah at a young age a love for his Creator. Micah's father passed away when he was 7, and later Melinda married Jeff Thompson. And just a few days before they were married, Micah asked Jeff if he could call him Dad, and he's called him that ever since. Micah also has many other family members that will miss him dearly. As a matter of fact, when you think about hunting or fishing, you probably think about Micah. When you think about Legos, maybe you think about Micah. He had them there at the foot of his bed. He loved his creations. He loved playing basketball. He loved watching basketball. He was a fan of the Razorbacks. He had a great smile. He could touch anyone. Even if he didn't know the exact words to express himself, he could smile. And those that took the time to really talk to him knew what a great person he was. Many have called or texted this week about the wonderful memories that they have of him. At the Kingdom Hall, he would give talks. He would also volunteer to carry the microphones. So when ones would comment, he would carry the microphones to them. He would volunteer to substitute if they needed help. And as a matter of fact, right about the time he was put on hospice, he came to the Kingdom Hall. This is where he wanted to be. And he wasn't feeling well, but he tapped Brother Prince on the shoulder and he said, "Can I do microphones tonight?" And they made arrangements, of course, and he carried the microphones for half the meeting. It was such an encouragement to everyone that was there. He was also determined to continue in another activity that Jehovah had asked him to do, to help others to learn the truth about Jehovah God and how he is a God of comfort and of hope. In March and April, the only way that he could share this hope with others was through writing letters or talking to those that visited him. And yet, Micah, he knew that he had very little time left, and yet it was that important to him to be able to share that hope with others. He discovered a passion for the outdoors when he was young. Like we mentioned, he liked to fish and to hunt, to go exploring in the woods. He said that he would go outdoors and he would search for toads, but he said he didn't know the difference between a toad and a frog, so everything was a frog to him. And we also know that he enjoyed spending time on the beach. He loved feeding the seagulls. They would come, he would bring bread and he would throw it out and they would just flock. He loved that. As a matter of fact, it got to where they would see him coming before he even started feeding them. And the seagulls would come. And on July 2nd, 2016, Micah made the most important decision of his life when he was baptized at age 13. He wanted to remember that date and help his mother to remember hers. So they got these little matching sheep, and he wrote their baptism dates on the bottom so that they'd always be able to remember their baptism dates. He loved his family, and he treasured his friendships. And one of the reasons this Kingdom Hall is so full today is because Micah touched a lot of people's lives. And so we already miss Micah dearly, and there may be times when memories of him, they flood back to our minds, and our inclination may be to hold back the grief. Do we need to feel that we have to hide our feelings? Do we feel that we're expected to hide our emotions? We may even wonder what people think of us if we cry. Well, at Genesis 37, verses 34 and 35, it shows that grief is a normal reaction to death. Here at Genesis 37, 34, and 35, in this account, Jacob thought that his son Joseph had died. Notice the grief that Jacob had for his son and how he expressed it. Genesis 37, verses 34 and 35. With that, Jacob ripped his garments apart and put sackcloth around his waist and mourned his son for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters kept trying to comfort him, but he kept refusing to take comfort, saying, I will go down into the grave mourning my son. And his father continued weeping for him. So not only did he cry for days, but he said that he would grieve for his son until the day that he died. It seems so unnatural for a child to die before their parent. So grief, even extreme grief, is normal. So then how can we comfort others as we try to cope with Micah's death? Well, we can look to the example of Jesus. At John 11:35, after Jesus' friend Lazarus died, it says that Jesus gave way to tears as he wept. He showed sympathy for others that wept. Now he knew that he was about to resurrect Lazarus, but he felt what he felt right then. Not everyone expresses grief the same way. Some have a hard time crying, but we can feel however we need to feel and not think that we have to hold something back for others. Jesus wept, and they didn't feel like they were alone in their grief. And some feel that that's the only thing worse than grieving, is feeling alone in their grief. But regardless of anyone else, we know that we have Jehovah God, and that he has tender feelings for those who grieve, and he promises to comfort them. Now, Micah and his family were working to memorize many scriptures. One of those that they were working on, that was on the list, was Psalm 55:22, that says, throw your burden on Jehovah, and he will sustain you. Micah knew that Jehovah cared deeply for those that are in trying situations. He knew that Jehovah can give us strength that we may not know that we had. In March, I interviewed Micah, and he had amazing strength. He had power beyond what was normal to deal with the physical toll the cancer and the treatments had taken on him, and yet he did so with power. He found comfort and peace. And part of the comfort he found was from the comfort that many of you provided him. He wanted others to have that same comfort and peace that he was given. Let's watch part of the interview as Micah expresses his feelings and how we can find comfort even in such a terrible situation.
My name's Micah Spellers. I'm age 16. I'm in the Butterfield Coach Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah, please instill in us a heart that won't forget, for you've always been our comfort when troubled times we've met, and these stars that lift and strengthen us. Here at Daniel 10:18-19, when it says, the one who looked like a man touched me again and strengthened me. Then he said, do not be afraid, O very precious man. May you have peace. Be strong, yes, be strong. As he spoke with me and I was strengthened, I said, let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. That's Daniel 10:18, verse 19. And I really feel like that that's me in Daniel's place. Because I feel like one of Jehovah's precious ones. And he's asking me, may I have peace and be strong. If you're going through something terrible, just rely on Jehovah and pray and know that it's not going to last forever, and it's all going to be fine one way or another if we put our trust in Jehovah. Whatever you may be going through, if you feel like you can't explain it, there isn't any way to explain it, or you feel like you don't know what's going on with you emotionally or mentally, just know that you're already taken care of. And you will receive help. You trust in Jehovah God. Jehovah has helped me by the power beyond what is normal. However, we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that the power beyond what is normal may be God's and not from us. The brothers and sisters, I am very thankful for what they did. Everybody would bring by food about every night after I got home from the hospital. Appreciated that a lot. They also gave me cards to read and how they felt about me. So I wonder sometimes, like, why do these brothers and sisters love me so much when I really didn't feel like I did much for them? But I guess I did.
Just like Micah said, you provided him comfort. We can provide comfort to each other right now as we try to cope with his death. We can rely upon Jehovah in prayer. We can rely upon his Holy Spirit and the help that he provides through the Christian congregation. All the wonderful friends and family that we have here, we can rely upon one another. Micah also said that when you're going through a difficult time, like we are right now, know that it's not going to last forever. So part of how we can gain comfort is knowing that there is hope. You see, hope, what it can do is it can help to elevate us up over an obstacle. And it helps us to be able to see what's on the other side. If there's an obstacle that seems so big, there's no way over it, no way around it, no way to move it, hope can elevate us. And so the resurrection hope can help elevate us to see over the obstacle of Micah's death and the grief that we face right now, and to be able to imagine him when he's resurrected in the paradise, to see him with a healthy body. That can help us right now to be able to cope having that hope. So then how do we get that hope? Well, first, remember that Jehovah yearns to bring Micah back. Micah was Jehovah's friend too. Think about it. Micah prayed to Jehovah every day, maybe 3 or 4 times a day. That communication's been cut off. Jehovah misses hearing from Micah, and he longs to bring Micah back and to hear his prayers once again. And so we talk about how God is loving. We talk about what a good person Micah was, and we ask why? Why do good people die? Why did this have to happen to Micah, since he was such a good kid? And you know, he was a good kid. His parents talked about, he didn't lie. He knew that was wrong. He didn't do that. One day, they went to walk into his bedroom. Jeff went to walk into his bedroom, and he turned the TV off real quick. Now, a lot of young kids, you might think they're watching a show they shouldn't be watching. but now Micah. They talked to Micah about it, and as it turns out, he was watching a little kid's cartoon, and he didn't want his parents to know. He had recorded hundreds of episodes of this on their DVR. So we wonder, why does God allow children to die? Well, he allows children to die for the same reason that he allows adults to die. And for us to understand that, we have to understand from the very beginning of human history what happened. You see, death was Adam's choice, not God's. Even before Adam and Eve rebelled against their Creator in Eden, they both knew full well that God had set out the death penalty for sin. And they were perfectly capable of not sinning. They were perfect, unlike us. Adam and Eve chose to be disobedient. Genesis 3, verse 19, it shows us the consequences of Adam's sin. Genesis 3 and verse 19. It says, "In the sweat of your face you will eat bread until you return to the ground. For out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." You see, as Micah knew, when we die, we cease to exist. Our bodies return to the dust. The Bible teaches that Micah is in an unconscious state, that Micah is simply sleeping, as if he was in such a deep sleep that he was unaware of anything or anyone else around him. Now, if Adam and Eve had not chosen to be disloyal to God, they could be alive today. But if it was Adam, if he was the one who originally sinned, then why do we die? Why do we suffer? Well, it's because he foolishly threw away the most precious inheritance he could have passed on to his offspring, the right to perfect eternal life on earth. Romans, the 5th chapter, and verse 12, it shows us that once they had sinned, they were no longer perfect, and that the only thing they would be able to pass on to their offspring was sin and death. Romans 5, verse 12, it says, "That is why, just as through one man sin entered into the world, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because they had all sinned." Yes, Adam passed on sin to his descendants. And so that's why we all die. So why can't Jehovah just fix this? Well, he's already done something to help Micah and every other person that has died or will die. We have hope because he sent his perfect Son to the earth as a ransom in exchange for Adam. This enables the future hope to live again by means of a resurrection. Jesus Christ himself said about his good friend Lazarus when he died, he said that he was sleeping. Now, Jesus knew that Lazarus was sleeping in death. And just like anyone, though, that's sleeping, a touch, a voice, those are things that can awaken them. And so that kind of power is the power that Jehovah gave his Son to be able to do for the dead. The resurrection hope is made possible by Jesus, and he showed that it's possible by the resurrections that he performed while he was here on the earth. It's what the Bible teaches, and it's what Micah believed. So when we're going through tough times, that hope, that can get us through. Micah imagined what he would do in the paradise after he was resurrected, who he would see. He looked forward to building places of worship and houses and cleaning up the earth. It was so real to him that just weeks ago, he went to Lowe's in a wheelchair, and he asked to go look at the tools. And he picked out some tools and brought them home. He didn't bring them home to work on a construction project right now. He said he wanted to have those tools ready for after he was resurrected, so he could help with the building work. You see, that hope also helped sustain him by thinking about what it will be like to live again with a perfect body. What it would be like to walk with a perfect body along the beach that he enjoyed so much, perhaps feeding the seagulls. He pictured himself there. The resurrection hope can help us to do the same. It can help us to imagine what it will be like after Micah is resurrected to see over that obstacle. It can elevate us over that obstacle so that we can cope with his death and know that it won't last forever. And that one day, those tears will give way to tears of joy. Let's watch one last section of his interview as he expresses his hope for the future.
Our purpose is to live forever on a paradise earth. That's what he intended for humans. When we die, we are gone, basically. Even though our bodies may still be there, our selves are gone. We're not in heaven. We're like the flame on a candle. It's there, but when you blow it out, where does it go? It doesn't go anywhere. It's just simply gone. That's how life is too. For the living know that they will die, but the dead will know nothing at all, nor do they have any more reward, because all memory of them is forgotten. Whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might, for there is no work, nor planning, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you are going. Well, since they have no account of time, it will be like a blink of an eye, because they're not alive to wait on time, basically. And so it'll basically be like a blink of an eye for that person. And it's going to be wonderful for that person when they wake up. Well, the Bible teaches about the resurrection, that there is going to, basically teaches that there is going to be a resurrection of the righteous and the unrighteous. Do not be amazed at this, for the hour is coming in which all those in the memorial tombs will hear his voice and come out, those who did good things to a resurrection of life. Well, I always had faith in the resurrection, but that faith is a lot more real now, more than ever. Every day I see myself there, just waking up, hearing Jesus or Jehovah, God, to wake me up. Because in the past, that's what Jesus did. When he resurrected the ones on earth, he called them out. I look forward to seeing my mom and my biological father and stepfather and the rest of my relatives. I'm looking forward to building my own house, helping brothers and sisters rebuild like kingdom halls and houses. That's another thing I look forward to in the new system, seeing the beach again. I want all of my family to be there in that new world because, for one, I know they can. And the second, they will be happy there. And third, this is real. Yes, you guys can be there. You guys can really be there and see me when I wake up.
He will call, my dad will answer. They will live at his command, for he will have a long
As Micah shared, the Bible teaches about a resurrection that's possible because of Jesus' sacrifice. Now Micah, he wants us to be there in that earthly paradise, here in that earthly paradise when he wakes up. Yes, hope can help us to see over obstacles. It can help us to see Micah in the future when he's resurrected. It doesn't take all the pain away, but it makes it bearable, knowing what the future holds. And so we may ask, why should we be here today then? If we have this hope, we know that we will see him again, then why do we gather for a memorial talk like this? Well, there's many reasons. It's so we can comfort those that grieve. We do it to draw attention to what a wonderful and loving God that Jehovah is because of his promises for the future. We do it to help others who may not know what the Bible teaches and to learn Bible truths. And we do it to glorify Jehovah's name because he provides the comfort and the peace and the hope. Now, we all grieve differently. We lost a friend, a son, a nephew. But when it comes to an event like that, we don't just dwell on the grief. We dwell on the good things that Micah did, the things that are going to help us live our life right now in a right way. So what lessons and example did Micah teach us? He taught us that Jehovah can carry us through even the toughest of times. He taught us that Jehovah yearns to resurrect the dead. He taught us to comfort others. You could even say he taught us to watch cartoons. Psalm 90, verse 12, has one other thing that we should have the desire to be taught. Psalm 90 and verse 12. It says, teach us how to count our days so that we may acquire a heart of wisdom. See, we count our days. We're reminded of the shortness of life, a mist that's here one day and gone the next. And yet, we can ask Jehovah to help us to acquire a heart of wisdom so that we can make a good name with him and we can be there when Micah wakes up. So take time right now to ask Jehovah, show me how I should walk, how I should live my life. We asked earlier, what would Micah have grown up to be? Would he have served in the full-time ministry? Would he have gotten married? What would he accomplish? Well, Micah's life is not over. It's paused. And if we want to find out the answers to those questions, then we can look at our lives right now so that we can be confident to say that we have a good name with Jehovah just like Micah does. Right now, we can remind one another of the hope. We can provide emotional support to one another and to the family. And as a concluding thought, let's turn back to the scripture shared earlier at Daniel 10, verses 18 and 19, the scripture that Micah read. Daniel 10, verses 18 and 19. Now, when Micah read this, after he read it, he said that he felt like he was Daniel. He felt like he was in Daniel's place and that Jehovah was speaking to him, in effect, through his angel. But this time as we read it, imagine yourself in Daniel's place and that Jehovah is speaking to you. Daniel 10, verses 18 and 19. It says, the one who looked like a man touched me again and strengthened me. Then he said, do not be afraid, O very precious man. May you have peace. Be strong. Yes, be strong. And as he spoke with me, I was strengthened. And I said, let my Lord speak, for you have strengthened me. May Jehovah give each of you the strength that you need as he did for Micah. Take strength in the comfort of others, take strength in the resurrection hope, and take strength in knowing that Micah desired to see each of you when he is resurrected.
Again, friends, on behalf of the family, again, thank you for attending today, being here for them, showing your love for them and for Micah. As was emphasized in the talk, one of the reasons that we're here today is to provide comfort and encouragement to one another. Well, we're going to have an opportunity to further do this at a reception that will be held at the Fayetteville Senior Center after we conclude. If you need directions, you can see the attendants and they can help you find directions to get there. One other quick announcement before we have the song and prayer. When we conclude, please remain seated. The attendants will come through and direct you to leave. They'll start at the front and work their way back. So please remain seated until the attendants direct others. Okay, so to conclude, then let's all stand and sing a very appropriate song, Song 151, entitled He Will Call, and then we'll ask Brother Phillips to close with prayer for us. That's Song 151.